Hello everyone. This is an unusual video for me, but as I've been slowly working on my current project, and as I am in the middle of a long delay between uploads, I thought that now might be a good time to honor a request that has been made by a few viewers of this channel. So in this video I thought I'd share just a few words about myself, while shedding some light on the background of the very strange project that I've been pursuing. I confess that I don't want to say much about myself. I happen to like my cloak of anonymity, and so naturally I'm not even showing my face. I do ply my trade in a humble nook in the world of academia, and while I don't have a sizable public profile there, I do want to keep it separated from the business of this channel. My colleagues know nothing about this little hobby of mine. For my day job, I teach philosophy courses at a local college. I have a hefty teaching load and little expectation of research, although I do publish occasionally, usually in topics concerning moral responsibility and the philosophy of religion, and only very rarely on Dostoevsky. On some days my voice might be a bit strained after lecturing on topics concerning ethics, epistemology, metaphysics, and meaning. The nickname Hippias Minor is something of a happenstance. The name is the title of an often overlooked Platonic dialogue, which addresses a topic that overlaps with the subject matter of my dissertation. Since anonymity on this channel was one of my goals, I was expecting these uploads to be happily overlooked by people in one world, while ideally being enjoyed by people in another. The origin of the project stems from a fantastic sale on classic works of literature at my nearest Barnes & Noble in the summer of 2017. I still do visit brick-and-mortar bookshops and hope for their survival in our brave new world. But the 21st century really is a brave new world, and as an educator I see more phones than books in the hands of students. Can literature survive in this world? As I was looking at Poor Folk, the earliest fictional work of Dostoevsky, and part of my haul from the bookstore, I thought I'd see what audio was available for free. Thus I discovered LibriVox, with my first exposure to it in the YouTube environment. I will never disparage the volunteers who donate their time to LibriVox, and some of them are quite good. But while reading the novella and then listening to its free audio presentation, it struck me that I had enormous advantages with the volume at my fingertips that the consumer of the audio would not have. I could read an introduction from Joseph Frank. I had notes in the text. I could flip back and forth easily between sections. I could reread passages, pause, and ponder. And none of that was possible in the audio experience. Much of the craft of the author could thus easily be lost on the listener. But of course the YouTube environment affords a great deal of opportunity. I had already been familiar with the concept of a Let's Play, where gamers work through a game with their own running commentary. At the time, the notion of a Let's Read was occasionally tossed around as a bit of a joke. And yet, my thought was, why not? It seemed to me that the style might confer some of the advantages of the written text to an audio format that would otherwise lack them. So I gave it a whirl with Poor Folk. Of course, I could just as well have done so with Hugo or Dickens or Bertrand Russell's History of Western Philosophy. Why Dostoevsky? And why were the works of Dostoevsky the ones I plundered at that Barnes & Noble sale in 2017? The answer is that, to my knowledge, no other author has ever had the clarity of insight, or the raw, incisive psychological and spiritual intuition that is present in the work of Dostoevsky. No other writer can expose human nature so brutally and thoroughly. No other writer can take that insight and extrapolate it to ultimate ends. No other writer could see the social forces taking shape around him and expose their fundament and trajectory so completely. All this can be a welcome relief to people in my world who are interested in ultimate issues, but can be burdened by the cramped artificiality or the obscure, impenetrable ramblings that often typify academic journals of philosophy. More recently, there appears to be another disturbing trend in mainstream academic work, namely an imprisonment to certain partisan axioms, which may be employed as premises but never challenged, and which therefore taint the epistemic quality of the arguments in play. In fact, about the same time I was in that Barnes & Noble, Susan Hack was excoriating the trajectory of the philosophy discipline in an article in the journal Free Inquiry entitled "The Real Question, Can Philosophy Be Saved?" It's worth a look if you're interested. I even have a link in the description below. But Dostoevsky cuts through all that junk. He isn't distracted by the stale logic chopping of the analytic philosophers, and he isn't offering the incoherent abuse of language that we so often find in the continental philosophers. And crucially, there are no ideas that he will not challenge. It's not that he is not partisan. He is, but he is an astonishingly honest one. The most cherished of his ideas will spend its time on the rack, being tortured by its negation. There's a sense in which a good poem will always be more honest and see things more clearly than the most scrupulous treatise. And in the end, it's the poets and not the philosophers who inherit the earth, or at least our hearts and minds. And so naturally it was Dostoevsky who attracted my attention at the time, and here I still am. I can't say that I glow with pride at all of my work. In fact, I'll confess that I often dislike hearing my own stuff, especially but not exclusively the earlier uploads. In general, my approach has been chronological, beginning with the author's earliest publications and going from there. And I think this approach has worked out, since Dostoevsky himself improved with time. Hopefully I have done the same, but I have no delusions of grandeur, and I recognize that I am, and always will be, very much an amateur. It is for this reason that YouTube remains the primary platform. At least one viewer has suggested that this platform is a bit odd, since the product is mostly auditory, not visual, and that podcasts are the more natural fit and would easily allow downloads. I agree, but then again, podcast hosting is not a free service, and I don't know if my stuff and my available time would justify the expense of pursuing it. But if any of you have tips in this regard for a frugal and often distracted content producer, feel free to educate me in the comments section below. As I am recording this, there are 5 full-length novels of Dostoevsky ahead of me. The only full-length novel behind me is Insulted and Injured, and that was the runt of the litter. All the rest are heftier both in length and in quality. We shall see just how far my ambitions will take me, but as of this moment I have finished the first part of Crime and Punishment. Was that the correct choice? Heaven knows, but several of you have requested it, and there is one person in my personal orbit who has been interested in this installment for some time. In any event, I plan on enjoying the process. I am just that strange. Expect to hear more from me on the score in a month or two. In the meantime, I hope that the end of our calendar year treats you well. My thanks for your interest and support, and my best wishes to you.